Good afternoon and welcome back. My name is Hari Srinivasan, and I'm going to be joined now by the founder of Future of Cities and Metro One, Tony Cho. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Hari. It's a pleasure to be here. How you
I
doing?
know, good, good. I know that your firm does more than just kind of sell real estate. You also design and develop it. And I'm wondering, in a post-pandemic environment, what does development look like? I mean, if you have some portion of a white collar workforce that's working from home, but you still have people that want to get out and be entertained, and so how do you design that kind of going forward?
I think it's been an iterative process, Hari, right? Because I think the world was transformed because of the pandemic and how we live, work, and play, and particularly how we work. And so I think we need to rethink of our work environments as a place that needs to be inspiring enough for people to be excited to come back to their work environment where they're getting more than just, sitting in front of their computers or coming to a desk. And so I think we need to create environments that provide education, opportunities for connection, opportunities for wellness. And that's exactly what we're doing here in our headquarters in Miami, in the neighborhood of Little Haiti, where we're creating an aspirational climate positive environment that will provide wellness opportunities, education, events around climate, community resilience, and the future of work and education, which are just some of the topics that we like to cover here within our think tank at the Future of Cities.
So give me an example. So I'm an employer. I want to set up shop in one of your upcoming developments. What are my employees going to have access to, or what's an average day or week that might be different than if I either had kept them at home or if I invited them to more traditional sort of downtown office space?
Well, in our case, in Little Haiti, where we are, you have a lot of kind of mid-century warehouses that we're adaptively repurposing in a culturally rich district. So you already have amenities of different types of services that you can get from restaurants and bars and barbers and butchers and all those kind of things. But within our hub, which is our innovation and climate hub, there are opportunities to take a yoga class, to take a class on kind of Web3 education, to take it on sustainability and resilience, both within the workplace and within the other environments. And so I think it's really about providing opportunities that people wouldn't normally get at home to give them and get them excited about coming into the office.
A while back, I want to say I'm aging myself, but maybe in the 90s or the early aughts, there was a boom of tech firms that chose to almost create campus-like environments where they'd have your laundry done and there'd be a bakery and childcare and lots of other things. And the benefit at the time to employers was, I remember asking one of them, I said, why give all these perks? And he said, we kind of did the math. And if you spend an extra 4 hours on campus, even if that's an extra hour that you're working, that's actually great for my bottom line because that increases everybody's productivity and we get more sort of widgets shipped. I mean, what are the kind of benefits that you talk to about employers in the conversations that they're having with their employees who are kind of torn about how to get restarted again?
So I think community is fundamental to any successful real estate development, neighborhood, or city. That sense of belonging. That I think there's an epidemic of loneliness and depression as a result of people being separated for so long. And so I think this opportunity to connect on a human level and create environments where people feel safe, they feel heard, they feel supported, where there's educational opportunities, above and beyond just their work requirements and expectation, I think
Yeah.
creates an exciting environment that people want to get behind and they feel more connected and they feel more purposeful. So I think if you can create dynamic environments that are inspiring people and that are bringing people together where they're safe, from a health perspective, from a diversity perspective, and otherwise, I think you're creating an environment that's successful for people.
How do you balance out the interests of a real estate development, an employer, and employees with the community that is already there? How do you make sure that there's an opportunity for those small businesses that at times feel like, oh, you know what, there's a big development coming. I don't really know if I'm going to participate in any of the upside. I don't know how my services are going to be integrated into their needs. is this a good thing for me, even though I've had a shingle here for 20 years?
So I think, this is one of the most important and pressing issues of modern urban development is how do you integrate and include and uplift the existing community when you have new investment and new people coming into a neighborhood. And I think really it starts with deep listening and really getting to know your neighbors and meeting the community leaders that are the ones running those neighborhoods. And in our neighborhood, Father Reggie, that runs Notre Dame de Haiti, which is one of the largest Haitian churches in North America, he is a cornerstone and a figure of the neighborhood. He has, I think, over 5,000 or 6,000 congregants. And so, I've been in touch with him since I started, the Magic City Innovation District, and continue to engage with him and invite him in and understand the needs of his community and provide opportunities for his congregants and people within the community to engage and attend educational seminars or be part of it, or even the art and the programming that you offer within your neighborhood, your community spaces should respect and honor what's happening in the community and to be mindful and not to be unconscious or unaware, but to really have a sense of the place of where you are. And just starting with that respect of listening and trying to understand the context of where you are, I think can already start to build trust within the existing community. And I think there's a lot more, that we get into with Future of Cities in terms of our policies and what we do when we're co-designing with the community for their best outcomes, not what our intentions are for that community. I think it's all about the approach and the engagement that you do with those people that determines whether you develop trust and can build a long-lasting, authentic partnership with the community.
One phrase that you have in your design logic is called regenerative placemaking. Explain what that is.
So it's a really interesting concept that we've been working on for the past couple of years. And it was something that came to me in a dream and something I've been thinking about, because historically the work that I've been doing is known as placemaking, which is place-based investment and development that really looks to revitalize and reinvigorate, communities that, could be, looked at as, have become dilapidated or underinvested over the years. And so what we're thinking about with regenerative placemaking is where we combine the concepts of regenerative development theory along with creative placemaking, where it's actually something that we do with the community. It's a fully participatory co-design model where you're co-designing with the community their potential best outcomes. And you're including them as much as possible in the process, and you're iterating with them on the needs and outcomes that they would like to see for their neighborhood or for their community.
So where does the community come in that process? I mean, are you having the equivalent of like town halls or listening sessions and say, hey, we want to create this thing? And I guess in that process, have you ever heard the community say, okay, that's cool, but what we're really interested in is this. How do you plan to address that when you build this project?
So I think it's all of the above. So participatory co-design means that you're doing deep listening, and usually I think that process is anywhere from, can be from 12 to 24 to longer, however long it takes to gain trust and build understanding of the landscape, the geography, the historical, the cultural contexts that exist in those neighborhoods. And so I think it first starts with, is deep listening and understanding the needs of the community. That doesn't mean that you're going to be able to do everything that everybody wants. I think that's where socialism has fallen short. And you really can't do everything for everybody. But if you authentically engage in a meaningful way and you incorporate as much as you can into the process, and you can also, provide opportunities for people to own or be involved in programming. And we're exploring other models through DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations, and other models like co-ops, where people can own or participate in the governance, in the design, in the programming of the neighborhood. And in the sense of a project we're working on for artist grants or non-for-profit funds that are raised, you can create structures where the community can effectively determine where certain funds are earmarked for and where do they go. And so I think it involves one-on-one conversations, it involves community conversations, town hall meetings, but it's actually about being authentic and meaningful in your intent and what you want to do for and with that community to be able to co-design with authenticity. And I think that's really a key component of true participatory design and really the intent of regenerative placemaking, that you are really placemaking with a regenerative goal in mind, and really with goals that are measurable, that you can say to people, well, today there's a certain percentage of home ownership that exists within minority communities in this neighborhood. Our objective is to increase that by 10, 20, 30%. And we don't want to gentrify or push people out of their homes, but we want to increase home ownership and financial stability within the most underserved communities.
Celia Timms, one of our commenters, is asking, she'd like to hear about what cities are doing for a new way of non-traditional housing opportunities for, say, single people, couples, or say retired people with a tight budget and are, say, widowed but want some type of safe but much more cheaper community options. I mean, there are a lot of people who are thinking about what their next step is, especially post-pandemic. How do you deal with kind of those interests, but also make it affordable, which is one of the things that we hear from mayors across different cities around the country, is that housing is kind of one of the top concerns that people have, and the lack of affordability.
So I think this is a very prickly issue and probably one of the most challenging of our time. And I think that this issue to resolve requires cross-sector collaboration at a scale that's unprecedented in modern history. And it requires the public sector, the private sector, foundations, NGOs to come together to double down investing in material sciences. We need to innovate in the construction industry. The costs are just astronomically high. It's very difficult to control land costs, labor costs, and other things that go into the housing costs. And now you've seen interest rates skyrocket. So you put all of those things into the soup, and it's a formula for a very challenging environment for affordability. But there are low-hanging fruits, like rezoning single-family districts within urban areas to create multifamily zoning. So someone who owns a single-family home, instead of being forced to be pushed out, could have a fourplex or a sixplex or an eightplex, where they could keep a number of units for themselves. They could sell or rent out the other units and create income for themselves. I mean, this is what happened in ancient Greek times as well. So these are not new models. These are models that have been around that need to be adapted to current modern times. So that, along with other incentives that should be coming for people, developers who are providing solutions for affordable housing, need to be integrated into our urban planning policies.
You know, I don't know what it's like in Miami. Perhaps it's similar in the downtown area, but there are a lot of floors of Midtown Manhattan office space and real estate that are really empty right now. And Robert Marinero asked this question: tourists come to New York City for its unique entertainment venues. To build on this, how feasible might it be to convert excess office space created by people working from home post-pandemic into new sources of entertainment to revitalize the city? Are there people in Miami we're kind of rethinking, like, what is this extra 50,000 square feet that we're sitting on if this company's not going to come back? Or if there's is there some other way to try to use these floors of this otherwise traditional commercial building?
Yeah, I think, listen, everybody is the great rethink and how we redistribute space, because I think a lot of people are rethinking if they're going to come to work the same way. There's still remote work from home. There's still a lot of remote working happening. And I think, because space is so valuable and so scarce and so expensive, I think a lot of people are reimagining, from schools to churches to institutions to office building. How can we make these facilities multi-purpose? It just makes more sense. I mean, cars sit idle for 95% of the time. So we have all this metal that's just collecting dust around the world. We're producing hundreds of millions of cars, and then we have to create car parks for them where these idle vehicles sit. It's just illogical. And so I think everybody's starting to come to the realization the way we've been building cities for the last 100 years is no longer applicable and no longer serves us. And we need to go through the great reimagination and a global redesign of our urban centers so that they actually work for 100% of life and then 99%.
That's a great idea to end this conversation on. Tony Cho, CEO and founder of Future of Cities, as well as the real estate firm Metro One. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's been a pleasure.